Hello YouTube. Once again I want to turn your attention to India, and my interest in that country I have explained before. They know about my research, and if you are interested, please see the link to the playlist about Ivan Yefremov, that mysterious Soviet scientist and writer who was considered to be by the secret police, Soviet secret police, the KGB, to be an extraterrestrial living among humans. But today I want to present a few things about India that I believe not many people in the West do know about. And the country has tremendous paranormal phenomena and very interesting natural phenomena. So let me get to the point and start with the Indian state of Assam, which lies on a spur of the half-long mountain range and the intersection of three roads. There is a picturesque Jatinga Valley. Once a year, in September, thousands of wild birds flock to this wonderfully beautiful place of blooming orchids and orange or orchards, and as if the birds are under hypnosis, they fall directly to the ground and either die or fall into a stupor. The reason for this mysterious phenomenon has not yet been revealed, but the locals are sure that this is a good sign and consider this bird fall a gift for good behavior. The strange phenomenon occurring in Jating is considered to be a mass suicide, although of course birds do not voluntarily take their own lives. As a result, this mysterious phenomenon occurs when several factors are combined at once: monsoon southerly winds, foggy humid air, or even drizzle and moonless nights. Locals have been celebrating this event for decades with a holiday during which bonfires are lit and helpless, disoriented birds are caught. Villagers claim that such a bird fall has always been in the valley. They themselves consider this phenomenon a reward of higher powers for working hard all year and not hurting anyone. Therefore, during this holiday, they catch helpless birds with joy and a sense of gratitude to solemnly roast and eat them. Birds of various species, kingfishers, herons, tiger deer, pitta, etc., they begin to flock to the fire closer to 22 hours. They land near the fires themselves and either die or fall into a stupor. They just sit there, not reacting to anything. A bird that has fallen into a kind of trance can be safely picked up and it will not try to escape. During this action, it is even difficult to say which part of the birds that arrived fell to the ground voluntarily and which were killed. After all, the villagers intensely shoot down with bamboo poles both birds that have flown up to the fire and those that are sitting nearby in the trees. Although poor birds are blinded by bright torches lit by people, however, some birds die even before they arrive at the fires, for example, when they crash into poles, trees, and houses. If the bird survived and was not killed or eaten by the locals, after a couple of days it wakes up and flies away. By the way, in ancient times, when the village was part of the possession of King Dimas, representatives of mountain tribe of the Zemenaga lived in it. They were the first witnesses of the unusual behavior of birds, but unlike modern villagers, representatives of the ancient tribe were so frightened by this phenomenon that they took it for the wrath of the gods. They believed that evil spirits were falling from the sky in the shape of birds, and eventually left the village. For some time it was empty, until at the beginning of the last century it was inhabited by new residents who were not so pessimistic about the bird fall. It is known that birds are disoriented by something at the moment when they get into the fog and wind, and they instinctively fly to light and heat. Moreover, not the entire mountain range has the properties of a kind of a magnet, but only a certain territory of it, a clearly defined strip 1.5 kilometers long and 200 meters wide. Birds land only from the north, and people's attempts to place lights on the southern side of the ridge were unsuccessful. The birds do not react to them. In the process of observing this phenomenon, another mysterious circumstance became clear. Only those birds that live in the valleys and hillsides adjacent to this place demonstrate such strange behavior. But strangers, meaning migratory birds, do not react to the bonfires. Indians claim that those birds that live directly in their village also do not fall into a trance and do not fly to the bonfires. For the first time, the strange bird fall in the Jatinga Valley was seen by tea planter and naturalist E. Jai, who came to India on his business. In 1957, his book, The Untouched Nature of India, was published, in which he mentioned this phenomenon. But since Jai was neither a zoologist nor an ornithologist, his story did not attract the attention of scientists at that time. Only 20 years later, the famous local zoologist Sudhir Sengupta became interested in the valley of the flying birds. He spent many days in the valley of Assam and attended this strange celebration of local residents, after which he came to the conclusion that Jai's words were absolutely true, and notified his colleagues from Europe and America about it. Only after that, the world scientific community undertook a global study of this phenomenon. In the course of research near the Indian village, scientists installed a tower with a bright spotlight to find out where the birds will fly during the bird fall. To their disappointment, they did not react to the electric light, but still, as if under hypnosis, flew to the bonfires. As a result, the experts just threw up their hands, admitting the exact reason is not clear. Scientists from different countries put together completely different hypotheses about the cause of the bird fall. According to one, birds react to specific weather conditions that can be observed only in this place of India. For example, Dr. Anwaruddin Chaudhuri, one of the most famous ornithologists of Assam, believes that birds are forced to fly down to the fire by high wind speed at high altitudes. According to another hypothesis, this way they are saved in Jating from torrential rains and floods occurring at this time in neighboring areas. However, none of the hypothesis stands up to criticism that it doesn't give a full explanation of the process of the bird's death. According to recent studies, with which Dr. Sengupta agrees, during the flight, birds are guided by the sun, other celestial bodies, as well as the magnetic and gravitational field of the earth. And perhaps underground in the valley of Jatinga, exactly in the place where a strange phenomenon occurs, once a year there's a powerful magnetic anomaly that lasts for 2 or 3 days. In combination with certain weather conditions and processes occurring in space, the new moon, wind, high humidity, etc., the magnetic field acts hypnotically on the feathered inhabitants of the surrounding forests. However, this is also just a hypothesis. No one knows. Yeah, we don't know a lot, but let's look at a fascinating discovery of which I have only the information to be presented here. I have not heard of any further research, but because I'm interested in the unidentified submersible objects operating in our oceans and the mysteries of the Indian Ocean, I think there is definitely more than we're cognizant of. There's definitely something that goes on down below, but I am by now used to the idea that the Australian government does not reveal what it has been discovering down under, so to say, down under the ocean surface. And it has to do with India in a way. Well, you see, in 2011, scientists claimed to have discovered two huge sunken islands in the Indian Ocean, which once formed a part of the last link between India and Australia. A team from Sydney University, Macabre University, and the University of Tasmania said that the two islands, about the size of Tasmania, were once part of the supercontinent Gondwana and are more than 1.5 kilometers underwater. They said that the islands discovered west of Australia were once above water. The discovery was made while the scientists were mapping the seafloor of the Perth abyssal plain. The data collected on the voyage could significantly change our understanding of the way in which India, Australia, and Antarctica broke off from Gondwana, according to University of Sydney geologist Dr. Joanne Whittaker, who was a team member. The scientists returned to Perth again in 2011 after carrying out the complicated task of dredging up hundreds of kilograms of rock samples from the steep slopes of the two islands during a 3-week expedition aboard a vessel. While traveling on the Southern Surveyor, they discovered the islands through detailed seafloor mapping and by dredging rock samples from the steep slope of the two islands, now in water depths of over 1.5 kilometers. And that was in the Australian media, by the way, such reports. They said that we expected to see common oceanic rocks such as basalt in the dredge, but we're surprised to see continental rocks such as granite, gneiss, and sandstone containing fossils, according to Dr. Simon Williams, who was the chief scientist of that expedition. And he added, a detailed analysis of the rocks dredged up during the voyage will tell us about their age and how they fit into the Gondwana jigsaw. The islands, called microcontinents, were formed when India began to move from Australia 130 million years ago during the Cretaceous period when dinosaurs roamed the earth. They became stranded thousands of kilometers from either coast as the land masses separated, according to the scientists. The sunken islands charted during the expedition have flat tops, which indicates they were once at sea level before being gradually submerged. Our preliminary analysis of the magnetic data that we collected could cause us to rethink the plate tectonic story for the whole of the eastern Indian Ocean, according to Dr. Whittaker. Maybe we will learn more one day, but I urge you to keep your eyes on the Indian Ocean. You can find my videos pertaining to strange underwater phenomenon, cryptozoology too in the Indian Ocean, and what the Soviets had discovered, because they were interested and sent special expeditions there. But let's get back to mainland India, to the place called Kuldhara. Kuldhara village in Rajasthan was abandoned overnight, leaving behind the entire village of crumbling homes and buildings. Legend has it that the ruler of the region took a keen interest in the daughter of the subjugated village chief, and to escape humiliation, the entire village of 1,500 people disappeared overnight. It is said the village chief cursed the abandoned village in a way that anyone who tried to inhabit it would die. Even today, visiting the village is only something that the brave would try, and staying overnight is at the person's own risk. There was once a society, and I think it still exists, Paranormal Society of Delhi. Its members stayed there the night and reported supernatural events such as unexplained moving shadows, footprints, noises, and those members were actually touched by something. That's about what I know now, but the next case that I want to talk to you about is about Munhno Chwa. In 2002, the rural areas of Uttar Pradesh were in panic about a strange creature that apparently swept down like a miniature UFO, beaming red and green lights. The creature was described as hawk-like, with something that looks like metal claws that aimed at scratching victims' faces, leaving them basically full of pain. Many people were so terrified that temples held sermons to ward away evil spirits, while some villagers stayed up all night around bonfires with guns and water cannons. This hype gradually died down when police went all out to convince people that the existence of this creature was a rumor, and that the victims who were impacted were probably injured by an unexplained force of nature. As you know, this is not only in India when police make such efforts, and people prefer sometimes to believe in simple explanations. But this is what happened. Now, as for the monkey man, there is something else. This is what the Delhi residents described. It was a hairy creature of about 5 feet tall, with shining red eyes and a helmet. It was seen jumping actually from building to building, but was also described later as mass hysteria. There was a movie, Delhi 6, starring Abhishek Bachchan, and it centered around the appearance of the creature in Old Delhi. That's what I know at this point, but it's very interesting. Maybe in a way equally interesting is the story of the White Lady of the Sanjay Van. The forested area outside of Delhi is known for its old and winding banyan trees, while hikers have reported seeing a woman draped in white walking among the banyan trees before disappearing. Is it the usual ghostly apparition? You know, people are interested, but be careful if you decide to visit Sanjay Van. Find out more if you can. Now here's a story of the wolves of Pavagada in Karnataka, India. And this goes back to 1983, when several girls below the age of 5 went missing after dark, despite being asleep next to their parents. Police claimed it was man-eating wolves that snatched the children after discovering pools of blood and clothes of the girls. However, the patterns were all similar. All the children abducted were girls, and they were not dragged underground. In one case, the wolves threw stones at the father while trying to make an escape. Well, there was a theory that people came up in India that it was the work of the so-called tantrics from the Madhya region who practiced black magic and offered children as a human sacrifices to their goddess Kali. The police were unable to carry out the investigation due to the lack of cooperation from villagers who were too afraid to go against the tantrics who could kill them with their dark sorcery. So the police and the forest department were at loggerheads, so to say, but the government backed the wolf theory, even as the issue raged in the legislative assembly. Then there is the mystery of Malcha Mahal. Behind the wild grasses in the ridge area outside Delhi lies Malcha Mahal, which was built by Nawab Wajid Ali of Oudh. His great-granddaughter was embroiled in a legal battle with the Indian government after the British had seized the property several decades ago. She was finally granted custody of the property and moved there with her two children. She later committed suicide, and her children were left with a legacy of treasure, some dogs, and the property which was once a hunting lodge for her ancestors. This is what they got. It is believed that the descendants of the Nawab Wajid Ali still live there, having secluded themselves from outside world with no modern amenities. There is a huge sign stating that all trespassers will be gunned down or have hounds set on them. Apparently the entrance is guarded by two dogs and revolver, which was permitted to the remaining royals. Prince Riaz has been given a firearm, apparently, and it's permitted to shoot in self-assurance by the legislative leader of Delhi since 1990, after they were assaulted, actually. But because of fear of torment, the royal siblings have not talked with anyone from the outside for years. The guards of the nearby Earth Center and forest officials have reported journalists sneaking into the premises, never to return again. So as you can see, India is a fascinating country, and we could spend days talking about it, and we will bring more information about it. And I have quite a lot in my channel now, and as I told you before, people with the Russian background, let's say, scientists, and in the Soviet Union were interested in India, but none, in my opinion, as much as Ivan Yefremov, who I mentioned before. So please stay tuned to my videos. If you can support my research, you'll find links to an explanation on how to do it in the description to this video. Please tell others, and please like my video too. And thank you very much for your attention to my work.